And I came in, I looked down at the plate, and there's my pet in pieces on the plate. And she said, "Eat right now." So I started chewing and trying to eat. And I was crying, tears running down my face, and my brothers were saying, "It's your fault. You're the one that bothered Mom." I said, "I wish we could have buried Speck." They said, "You can't bury him if you're eating him." I said, "But you know what? You could bury his head." I said, "That's where the spirit is." I saw Mom throw his head down. They said, "Yeah, that's a good idea. We're going to go bury his head." So we got up from the table, and we were getting ready to go outside. My mother went, "You clean up this kitchen first." And we said, "But Mom, it's getting dark." "Hey, clean the kitchen up first." So we hurried up, cleaned the kitchen up. When we got out there, it was kind of dark. And then we were walking around trying to see the head. And we came up with something white. There was something white moving down on the ground. And I said, "What is that?" And as we got close, we saw what it was. It was the Creole lady from across the street who never talked to anybody. She was down on that ground and she was saying something in that Creole language. She was saying, "Pauvre poulet, poulet, ces gens t'ont tué, mais tu vas me venger, poulet, poulet." And I looked, and when I looked down there, I saw what she was doing down on that ground. She had his head, and she was rubbing his head all over her face. She had blood all over her face, and she had this long white hair. And she looked like a witch. She had long fingernails and this long dress, and she just down there moving all funny on the ground. And my brother Vince, see, I was only 10, my brother Vince was about 15. He said, "Hey, Creole lady, what you doing in our backyard?" And she just stayed out there, "Poulet, poulet, je vais me venger, poulet, t'ont tué." My brother said, "Creole lady." And then he went up and he yelled in the air, "Creole lady." Man, that woman whipped around real fast and tried to scratch him, but she got his shirt and just ripped his shirt. If she had gotten his eyes would have been out, because she had these sharp, her fingernails were sharp like knives. My brother jumped back and he started running, and she was right after him. And I had never seen a woman run so fast. She was running like a man, and she was screaming. She said, "Je vais te tuer, misérable." She was talking that Creole language, and my brother Vince, who was a good athlete, she almost got him, but he jumped over the fence, dived over the fence, and she ran into the fence trying to get him, and had him by his foot, but she tore the shoe off, and he landed in the other yard and took off. And then she turned around and looked at us, and she went, "Ah! And she ran at us. And man, I pushed my brothers. I said, "Get in the house." And we as soon as I slammed the door, she hit the door. I locked it, and she was scratching and screaming in that, "Poulet, poulet, va se venger." And I ran in the living room. I said, "Dad, the Creole lady's out there acting crazy. She's trying to kill us, Dad." He said, "What you talking about, boy?" I said, "She's out there. She's talking that Creole. She's like going, poulet, poulet." But I said, "Wait." She said, "What?" I said, "Poulet, Dad. What does that mean?" He said, "You just wait here." My dad walked into the bedroom, came back with his gun. I said, "Man, what in the world does poulet mean? Why'd he get that gun?" And he went to the back door. He stood there for a second, unlocked it, cracked it open. Then he went out, and I followed him out. And we looked over to the side. We could see the gate swinging back and forth. The Creole lady had just run out the gate. My dad took off running after her, and I was behind him. And let me tell you something. When he came out, he was running up ahead of me. I could see the Creole lady ahead of him, and I was running behind him. And then I see this big truck coming down the street, coming fast. And I said, "Uh-oh, that Creole lady's going to run in front of that truck." And she ran right in front of that truck. The truck hit her, bam! And it just knocked her all up. First she hit the truck and came over the truck, and she landed in the street. And I said, "Oh, I know she's dead." The truck driver stopped. He looked back. Got out of the truck, looked back, he saw my dad standing with that gun, and he got scared. He jumped in the truck and took off. And the Creole lady, we were getting ready to walk up on her, and then she jumped up, looked around and says, "Le tuer, je vais vous tuer, poulet." And then she ran into her house. My dad was standing there looking across the street, and I came up beside him, and I heard him say, "I'm not going to put up with this woman coming in my yard with that voodoo mess. That's it, I'm going over there right now." He started walking across the street, and just then my mother ran out of the house. He says, "OD, don't go over there, OD. Don't go over there." He said, "I'm going over to take care of this right now. The woman came in our yard." She said, "OD, have you forgotten about what she did that time? Have you forgotten what she did to Darnell?" My dad stopped. He said, "No, I haven't forgotten." She said, "Well, OD, you come on in the house with me." So my dad followed my mother in the house. My brothers came up. I said, "Did you hear that?" that Creole lady did something before, and Dad's scared of the Creole lady. They said, Dad ain't scared of nobody. I said, hey, man, he didn't go over there. They said, let's go in the house. So we went in the house, and my dad was just sitting there staring in space. My mother's in the kitchen doing something. And my brother said, go ask Dad what that Creole lady did. I said, no, I don't want to bother Dad. They said, boy, we're going to beat you up if you don't do it. I said, yeah, okay, these are my older brothers. They would do it. So I went there. I said, hey, Dad. He said, what you want, boy? I said, Dad, what did that Creole lady do before? He said, hey, that ain't none of your business. You kids, there's things for kids, there's things for adults. You just mind your own business. Now, you go on. My mother came out of the kitchen. She said, O.D., I want you to tell those boys, you tell them right now about that Creole lady because they need to stay away from her. I said, Mom, we didn't go bothering her. She was in our backyard. I don't care. You need to stay away from that Creole lady. Now, O.D., you tell them kids about what she did that time. My dad said, okay, I'm going to tell them. You kids sit down. See that old Creole lady with that long white hair and all those wrinkles and those snaggly teeth? She looks horrible, doesn't she? He said, well, that woman used to be a very beautiful woman. And he looked at my mother and he said, ain't that right, Iola? She said, yes, that woman looked like a movie star. She was one of the most beautiful women in the world. And all the guys down there wanted to be with her. But guess what? She was too good for Hobbs. You go, get away from me. But finally, this guy named Darnell, this guy came to town, and listen, he wasn't like the rest of these people who were kind of poor. Darnell had money, and he used to drive a Cadillac, a brand new Cadillac, a convertible Cadillac. And listen, he didn't wear poor clothes. He wore silk suits and ties and cologne, and he had these nice brims, these nice hats. Real handsome guy. Darnell saw the Creole lady, and he said, oh my goodness, she has to be mine. So he started courting her, and she liked Darnell. She loved Darnell. My dad said they used to see them driving around town with her long, she had this jet black hair, this long black hair flowing in the wind. And people said, well, she finally met her match. She's probably going to get married to Darnell. And it was true. They were going to get married. But then something happened to mess it up. Her sisters from Louisiana, they came to visit her, her older sisters. And she said, oh, I want you to meet Darnell. Oh, I love him so much. I want you to meet Darnell. They said, okay. But when Darnell came over to the house, they looked at Darnell and they got angry. They said, what are you doing with him? She said, what do you mean? They said, he's not Creole. You can't be with somebody who's not Creole. Are you crazy? You quit him, and you quit him now. Oh, don't make me quit. You quit him. You obey us. And she had to obey her older sisters.
Is that true?
Let me finish. Let me finish the story. And then when she told Darnell, she said, Darnell, I can't be with you. And he was like, why, baby? Why? She said, I'm sorry, Darnell. I have to obey my sisters. No, baby, I love you. She said, I'm sorry, Darnell. And he cried. He got down on his knees. He begged her not to quit him. But she quit him anyway. And he drove away. And he was as sad as he could be. But then later on, no, then he got mad. He started thinking about, she's gonna quit me. And then Darnell started driving up and down the street in his car. He'd stop in front of the house and burn rubber, blow the horn. And then my dad said he even started bringing other women, and he would stand them out in front of her house. And he'd yell, hey, look at these women. They finer than you. You think you too good for me? I got these women. And then he just was harassing her. And one day, my dad said he came. He stopped out there in the middle of the street, got out and threw some rocks and hit her window and hit her door. And then the Creole lady came out of the house. And my dad said that day, the way she looked, he should have known something bad was coming.